we're going to talk about 5 things not to do with your barrel horses. So number 1 is not pulling your horse around the backside of the barrel. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. What happens a lot of times, and I used to be guilty of this as well, we run up here, we've got our hands forward, we sit down and we get here and everybody yells, look, and we pull our horses across the barrel. Okay, that is not something we want to continue to do. When we get over here and we sit down, set our horse up, and then we take their face from them, their body then has to fly to the outside. They lose their power. Their power's back here in their hip. So if we pull their nose like this, see what happens? Oh no, lost control of where my horse was going. So all kinds of things happen when that hip gets too far to the outside, right? So when I go up here, riding, sit down, you're good, and then all of a sudden we pull. See how his hip just flew around to the outside? That makes it really hard for them to complete that turn for you. So instead, what we want to have happen is we ride up here, keeping our hands down, quiet, sit down. My horse understands what that means. Keep my hand right here by that swell, and see how that horse just walks around there. I don't have to pull my hand out. I can just have it right here. Now, if your horse doesn't come around the barrel when you ask them to do that with your hand quiet like that, then we're going to apply our outside leg. So right here, if my horse doesn't come around, I can use my outside leg, but I'm not going to pull at the same time. I can guide, I can direct, I can help, but what you don't want to do is pull your horse around that barrel. That is going to take their power away from them, and they won't be able to complete that barrel turn to the best of their ability. Walk, keep my hand quiet, and my horse just comes right around the barrel. That will be true at the walk, trot, lope, and the run if you practice that enough. Number 2 is starting your barrel pattern from the opposite side of the arena as your first barrel. So this horse goes to the right barrel first. So I see this a fair amount of times for all different reasons. I know people have all sorts of reasons for doing it, but this really makes it hard for your horse to make a good first barrel. That's your money barrel. If it's not good, the rest of your pattern is affected. So when they're way over here on this side, the left side of the arena, and they go off, running for that first barrel, when I go off in this line like this, my horse is running straight up that arena. They see the barrel here, and depending on your horse and what you're doing, they may be able to dive around this barrel, but I think this is the quickest way to teach your horse to run up the arena, because this turn back right here at this angle is super hard for your horse. It's going to be uncomfortable. It may even be painful for them depending on what they have going on. So it's going to be real easy for your horse to start running up here and then running off here, because this is way easier for them to do than to crank their body around and try to get around that barrel. So if you go to the right barrel first, always start on the right side of the arena to the best of your ability, or from the center. Some arenas are have harder setups, so you have to just make do with what you got. But I'm going to start over here, make a nice soft arc into my barrel so that it's easy for my horse to get around. The easier I make this for them, the more they want to do it. Good. Thanks for watching the video so far. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can keep following along with us. If you are interested in having me be your barrel racing coach, or you're looking for a barrel horse trainer, you can go over to our website, www.superchargedperformancehorses.com, and you can see all the services that we offer. We do offer barrel horse training and campaigning. We offer barrel racing coaching and horsemanship lessons, and we also offer virtual coaching. So go on over to that and see what all we have to offer and how you can become a part of Team Supercharge. Number 3 is going to be not doing a one rein stop or pulling your horse around as they're coming out of the barrels. Now I see this a lot in horses and riders that are just starting out going around the barrels, okay? So this has a little bit to do with how broke they are and how they understand to make a circle and then go to a straight line. So what I will see happen is the horse doesn't necessarily understand the pattern yet, and that they're supposed to come around the barrel and then go straight out of it. So when they don't understand that, riders will do this and then, oh no, I wanted to go over there, but my horse is here, and they're trying to get their horse off that barrel. And see what happens here? Now my horse just wants to turn, and then, oh no, we're here. And now the rider will panic a little bit, not knowing what to do. So then it's like, okay, let's one rein stop, turn my horse around, and then we're out here and the horse is confused, you're confused, and then we go on. So then it makes it hard for that horse to figure out how to go from barrel to barrel. So patterning them correctly is really important. But I see this all the time. They get here and they pull up, okay? We don't want to be pulling up, because see, that just is gonna confuse your horse. You want to come back. Bring their nose and then stop pulling them. But see, I see it a lot on the second barrel. This happens, and then they whip around, and then we're going this way, and then we're not sure, and then we kind of end up out here in this area and then try to get to the third barrel and see how now we don't even really have a line to the third barrel. So it's really important to, if you are starting to barrel race or starting your horse on the barrels, you need to move away from that one rein stopping as a crutch. That's always got to be there on your horses, but don't use it as a crutch. And you've got to teach your horse how to go from a circle to a straight line. A lot of that is your hand positioning. So what I like to do, set my hand right down here in front of my swells and ask for that bend. I'm sitting down, I'm giving my horse the cues from my body to do a circle. Now I want to go on a straight line. I shift my eyes, push my hand forward, release. See how my horse goes straight then? Then when I sit down, ask for bend, he knows to circle, shift, he knows to go straight. So that's a really important thing to progress to when you're teaching your horse the pattern and when you are learning how to barrel race. Number 4 to not do with your barrel horse is going to be not overdoing moving the hip to the inside. What that does is binds the hip up, and it binds the rib cage and the shoulder so that they can't keep moving forward. So yeah, we get our horse to rate. A lot of people will go up, stop their horse, push their hip to the inside. Sometimes that's needed, but you can't overdo it. So when we overdo it, then that horse, again, has to get themselves all curled up like they're going to do a rollback, except we're not asking our horse to do a rollback. We have to have them move forward around that object. So I'll show you what I mean. See this all the time in time onlys. Walking, trotting, loping, running up here, bringing them to a stop, sometimes a little rough, and then stepping that hip to the inside. So see how, like, when I do that, this horse is going to have a really hard time keeping his outside connected and coming through, because what's happening is I'm pushing this hip, but see how this shoulder is having to move over here? They have to keep themselves balanced. They can't maintain that for a long period of time at a high rate of speed. So if you go up here all the time, stop your horse, and there's a lot of people that train this way, but I think you have to be careful when you follow them because you can't overdo it. I think it just gets overdone. So then when my hip's too far to the inside and I'm keep pushing my hip to the inside, see, my horse is going to start getting bound up, and then they bring here, and then we want to pull, and my horse is going to keep getting bound up till I run over this barrel, and he's not going to be able to move forward. So then if I do that at a lope, push that hip in, push that hip in. Oh, what did that get me? I'm not even at the barrel. I'm not even there. This horse knows to go to the barrel. So instead, keep that hip directly behind them. So you may have to push it out a little bit. Keep that hip directly behind them. No problem. because you have the motor, easy. You have the motor directly behind the horse when you've got that hip back there. So they can drive their rib cage and their shoulders forward. When you've got that hip too far to the inside, it gets a little bit disconnected and they can't keep everything going forward and get around that barrel. So the fifth thing not to do with your barrel horse is ride with your inside hand up and crossing over their neck. And also, as you're going to that barrel, just having that inside leg just pressed on them, just hoping to get by the barrel. We don't want to hope to get by it. We want to drive and have the skills to get by it every single time. So what I'm talking about is a lot of times we're always focused on pick that shoulder up, pick that shoulder up, pick that shoulder up, and crossing it over the neck, trying to get that horse to move off of here. See, now my horse doesn't really understand what that means. He's not broke that way. We don't cross over the neck. So he's like, what do you want? I see people doing that all the time. And my horse isn't going to push through that rein, but what I'll see is people do that and their horse just keeps going this way, even though they're technically asking for it to go that way. I'm putting my opposite leg on to kind of get him to do what I'm talking about. But I'll see them with their inside leg and the inside rein like this, and this horse, there we go. This horse is just continuing to do that, but honestly, they're just falling in and they're not moving off your pressure, they're moving into it. So it's really not going to help you when you get to the barrel and they're real strong and going fast and you do this, they're just going to run right over it, drop that shoulder right into that hole. So it's really important to keep your hands on either side of your horse's neck. And if you use that inside leg, they better move off of it. So if you're using your inside leg, your horse had better move in this fashion, okay? If that's not what you want from them, then don't use it. A lot of times I don't use a whole lot of inside leg, especially if it's just kind of for shape, and I am going to move my hip or their hip out a little bit because they naturally want to get that hip too far to the inside. So if I start crossing my hand over the neck and pushing that leg in there, eventually my horse is going to run over that cue and they're going to dive right in on top of that barrel. Now this horse knows that's not what we do with the barrel, but I see it all the time. So what you're going to want to do is drop that hand down, push that inside heel down. It's going to be hard and your horse is going to want to dive in. And so then a helpful tip for that to help your horse figure out how to stand up and go around there is apply this outside rein a little bit. You don't need to pull it way out here. You just need to connect them, stand them up, help them figure out how to go forward around this barrel.